Five people you should cut out of your life. 1, the user. They will only love you as much as they can use you. As soon as you no longer give them what they want from you, they disappear. 2, the complainer. They will steal your peace by complaining about the same things they aren't willing to change. 3, the blamer. They make you feel guilty and never take responsibility. Their manipulation goes so far that even you believe you are to blame. 4, the competitor. They might want to see you do well, but they surely don't want to see you do better than them. 5, the abuser. They abuse your forgiveness, your trust, and your loyalty. They abuse everything you give them, and you will only realize it when they are no longer in your life. Think about that for a second.
Welcome to Self-Mastery Labs. Let's get started. Chapter 1. The user. Only around when there's something to gain. The user is easy to spot once you know what to look for. They're the ones who only pop up when they need something, whether it's money, a favor, or your expertise. Suddenly, they're all friendly, full of compliments, and sending you texts like, "Hey, how are you? Let's catch up." But you've learned the pattern by now. That message isn't about catching up, it's the warm-up for the big ask. As soon as you say no or set a boundary, they disappear as quickly as they appeared. These relationships drain you because they're one-sided. The user thrives on what you can offer them, not on who you are as a person. When you're no longer useful, they move on to their next target. It's a transactional relationship, disguised as friendship. And when you finally recognize it, it stings because you've likely invested emotionally, not realizing they were only interested in what you brought to the table, not in the relationship itself. Research on social exchange theory supports this. Relationships based on mutual benefit tend to last. But when one person is always giving and the other is always taking, the imbalance leads to resentment. Over time, this lack of reciprocity causes emotional exhaustion. You start feeling used because, let's face it, you are. Here's an example. Think of that one friend who always comes to you for advice on their career, yet never once asks how you're doing. They take your insights, act on them, and then disappear until the next career crisis. They're not interested in your life, just in your ability to help them solve theirs. These people drain your energy and take up mental space, leaving you feeling undervalued. Cutting them off might feel harsh, but it's not. It's a step toward preserving your energy for relationships that matter. Genuine connections are built on shared experiences and mutual respect, not on what you can do for someone when they're in a pinch. Once you distance yourself from the user, you'll realize just how freeing it is to be surrounded by people who value you for you. Chapter 2. The complainer. Stuck in a loop of complaints. The complainer is someone who sucks the joy out of the room. Their life is a never-ending cycle of complaints. They're stuck in a job they hate, but they won't apply anywhere else. Their relationships are a disaster, but they won't set boundaries or work on communication. They'll tell you about every little inconvenience in their life, but if you dare offer a solution, they brush it off. They're not looking for help. They just want to vent, and vent, and vent. At first you might feel bad for them. You think you're helping by listening, by offering advice, or by being a shoulder to cry on. But eventually you notice a pattern. No matter what you say or do, nothing changes. It's like they're stuck in a loop, replaying the same complaints over and over with no interest in finding a way out. After spending time with them, you feel emotionally drained. Their negativity is contagious. This isn't just a feeling, it's backed by science. Studies show that constant exposure to negativity can actually affect your brain, making you more pessimistic and less motivated. It's called emotional contagion, and it's why you often feel worse after spending time with a complainer, even if your own life is going fine. In the real world, this looks like that friend who complains about their toxic job at every get-together, every single time. You've suggested they start applying for other jobs, take a class, or even talk to their boss, but they have an excuse for everything. It's never the right time, the market's tough, they're just too busy. What they're really saying is, I'm not interested in changing, I just want to wallow. The problem with constantly being around someone like this is that they don't just complain about their own life, they drag you into it. Their negativity seeps into your world, and before long, you're carrying their emotional baggage. It's exhausting, and it holds you back from focusing on your own growth and happiness. The solution is simple but hard to implement. Distance yourself. You're not abandoning them. You're protecting your peace. You can still care about someone without letting them dump their negativity into your life. And once you set those boundaries, you'll notice how much lighter you feel. Energy is precious. Don't waste it on people who aren't willing to change. Chapter 3. The Blamer. Guilt trips and finger pointings. The blamer is the person who never takes responsibility. Every time something goes wrong in their life, they find a way to pin it on you or anyone else within reach. If their project at work flops, it's because you didn't give them enough support. If they forget to call you back, it's because you didn't remind them. They shift blame so seamlessly that you start to question whether you really are the problem. This kind of manipulation can seriously mess with your self-esteem. The blamer is often skilled at making you feel like you've let them down, even when you haven't. It's a psychological tactic called projection, where they offload their own mistakes and insecurities onto you. Over time, this can make you doubt yourself and take on guilt that isn't yours to carry. Psychologist Albert Ellis talked about the impact of self-blame and how it can lead to anxiety and depression. When you're constantly around a blamer, it's hard not to internalize their criticism. Their constant finger pointing leaves you in a state of second-guessing yourself, wondering if maybe you really did screw up, even when deep down you know you didn't. Think about the colleague who always makes you feel like it's your fault when a team project goes sideways. Even if they missed deadlines or fail to communicate, they'll somehow twist the situation to make it seem like you didn't support them enough or you were unclear in your instructions. Before you know it, you're apologizing for something you didn't do, just to keep the peace. The reality is, no one should have to carry someone else's emotional baggage like that. Everyone makes mistakes. That's part of life. But healthy, self-aware people take ownership of their errors and learn from them. The blamer, however, is allergic to accountability. They're so invested in protecting their own ego that they'd rather destroy your confidence than admit fault. When you cut out the blamer, you reclaim your mental space. You stop carrying guilt that doesn't belong to you and start recognizing that you're not responsible for fixing other people's messes. The blamer has to face their own issues without using you as a scapegoat. Chapter 4. The Competitor. Cheering you on, but only until you win. The competitor isn't just interested in winning, they're interested in beating you. They'll cheer for your success, but only as long as it doesn't outshine their own. The moment you do better than them, their enthusiasm vanishes, replaced by jealousy and subtle undermining. They might start pointing out flaws in your achievements or make passive-aggressive comments that undercut your success. What makes the competitor dangerous is how they cloak their insecurity in fake support. On the surface, they'll act like they're happy for you, but deep down, they're keeping score. Every time you succeed, they feel like they've lost. This constant comparison isn't just unhealthy, it's toxic. Friendships shouldn't be competitions, but for the competitor, that's all they are. Research by psychologist Dr. Tessa on self-evaluation maintenance shows that people in competitive relationships often feel threatened by the achievements of those closest to them, especially when it's in a domain they care about. This leads them to either distance themselves from the successful person or try to bring them down a notch. In real life, this looks like the friend who never seems to be genuinely happy for you. You land a promotion, and instead of congratulating you, they say something like, "Must be nice to have connections in the company." Or you tell them about a personal achievement, and they instantly pivot to something they've done, trying to one-up you. It's exhausting because you can never just enjoy your success around them. They're always trying to turn it into a competition. Cutting ties with the competitor might feel strange, especially because they've probably been in your life for a while. But you'll quickly realize that true friends celebrate each other's successes without feeling threatened. Life isn't a race, and there's more than enough success to go around. When you remove the competitor, you'll find that your victories feel a lot sweeter without the cloud of jealousy hanging over them. Chapter 5. The Abuser. Draining you under the guise of friendship. The abuser is perhaps the most damaging person on this list, and they're not always easy to spot. They don't have to be physically abusive to wreak havoc on your life. Emotional abuse is just as real, and it can be even harder to recognize because it happens gradually. The abuser chips away at your self-worth, manipulating your feelings, pushing your boundaries, and taking advantage of your kindness. They'll apologize when they have crossed a line, but nothing ever changes. They rely on your forgiveness, knowing you'll always give them another chance. This cycle, hurt, apology, repeat, keeps you hooked, believing that maybe this time they'll change, but they won't. Abusers thrive on control, and they maintain it by keeping you emotionally off balance. Psychologist Lundy Bancroft, in his book, Why Does He Do That?, explains how emotional abusers manipulate their victims using guilt, fear, and confusion to keep control. They know exactly how far they can push before you walk away, and they pull you back in with promises of change. But those promises are empty. The cycle of manipulation continues because the abuser isn't interested in your well-being. They're interested in maintaining their power over you. This doesn't always happen in romantic relationships. It could be a friend, a family member, or even a colleague. They might use your trust, loyalty, and forgiveness against you. You forgive them once, twice, maybe 100 times, but nothing improves. They take advantage of your empathy, knowing you'll always give them another chance. And the longer it goes on, the harder it becomes to break free because your sense of self has eroded. Take the example of a friend who constantly takes from you emotionally. They may call you late at night with a crisis, expect you to drop everything, and never consider what's going on in your life. You try to set boundaries, but they guilt trip you into feeling like a bad friend. You feel stuck in the relationship, unsure of how to get out because their manipulation has made you question your own worth. Cutting off an abuser isn't just about setting boundaries, it's about rebuilding your sense of self. When you've been caught in their web for too long, you start to lose sight of your own needs and desires. But once you step away, you'll realize how much they've been holding you back. And here's the tough truth. No one deserves to be treated this way. Not you, not anyone. Abusers often try to make you feel like it's your fault, like you deserve this treatment. But that's their manipulation talking, not reality. Ending a relationship with an abuser is difficult, but it's essential for your emotional and mental health. Once you cut them out, you'll be amazed at how much clearer and lighter life feels. You'll start to rebuild your confidence, regain your sense of self, and surround yourself with people who truly value you. Because at the end of the day, real relationships, healthy relationships, are built on mutual respect, not control. Thanks for sticking around till the end. Now, we've covered some pretty heavy stuff today. The users, the complainers, the blamers, the competitors, and the abusers. These aren't just random labels. These are the kinds of people who can quietly drain your energy, hold you back, and take more from you than you might even realize. Cutting them out isn't about being cold. It's about protecting your peace, your growth, and your future. So here's the big question for you. What kind of relationship in your life is stopping you from becoming the person you want to be? Is there someone who's been chipping away at your confidence or feeding off your kindness? Take a moment and really think about that. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's start a conversation about how we can all work towards building relationships that lift us up, not tear us down. I'd love to hear your experiences and how you've dealt with these kinds of toxic people. And hey, if you're not ready to share yet, that's okay too. Just know that you're not alone. And sometimes the hardest part is recognizing that something needs to change. If you found this video helpful, give it a like, share it with someone who might need to hear this, and don't forget to subscribe for more content that will help you live a healthier, more intentional life. You deserve to be surrounded by people who genuinely support you, and together, we'll figure out how to get there. Thanks for watching, and until next time, choose wisely who you allow into your space.